Debian versus Ubuntu. What's the difference between these two distros and how are they the same? Hello everybody, it's True Detective here, and in this video discussion about those Linux distros and especially Ubuntu and Debian, and why is it that you should choose either one of these. Ubuntu and Debian, they have been around for a long time. Ubuntu for 20 years and Debian for 30 years. They make a Linux distro, a Linux operating system version, and it's based on Debian. Debian is maintained in a little different manner. Ubuntu by a private held company, Debian a community project. Now at this point 30 years old of a software project. What is the difference between these two? Ubuntu, it's more pre-configured and they have added layers of functionality to it. Nowadays, for example, a software store that is much more elaborate and filled with all kinds of proprietary software too. Get Spotify on there, just install it from there on Ubuntu. What's the difference? Well, I would say that Debian is very stable, it's very reliable. With Ubuntu, the desktop environment, which is GNOME, and it's pre-configured to be a little different than with Debian, which has very stock desktop environment, whatever desktop environment you choose. That's your graphical user interface. And with the Debian stable, your packages can be a bit outdated. Ubuntu, on the other hand, their release cycle, which is an LTS version every 2 years, is it? The Kubuntu and Lubuntu. You have to download a different ISO for those. But with Debian, you just download one ISO and you can choose in the installer which desktop environment you want, and it's very a vanilla type of experience of that desktop environment. It has not been configured much. I have never used the LTS distro for that long. I don't like their release cycle. I think it's stupid. So that's a difference. Next, the difference, a big difference between these two distros is the release cycle. And I think that the Ubuntu release cycle is, in my own opinion, quite stupid. I think that it's not a good model, the Ubuntu release cycle, because they have the LTS version, that's long-term support. You're never gonna use it probably for 5 years. Some have probably done it, but I never do. With Ubuntu, you get some proprietary software in there, and it's more user-friendly. And then they have the every 6 months version, the 0.9 release. There's some drivers that have probably been pre-configured on Ubuntu. It's just a more beginner-friendly experience and more up-to-date with the current software, in which they test for the LTS release. I think it's a really stupid way to do a Linux distro. Fedora does it much better. Every 6 months you get a whole update, and it's maintained for about a year. I don't like Ubuntu because of that. I think their release cycle is just stupid. Ubuntu is a more user-friendly experience, that's just for sure. What about Debian then? Well, as with Ubuntu, you can opt for the beta version of it. Even more current up-to-date than the 0.9 versions. The Ubuntu testing or whatever it is. You can do the same with Debian. What's great about Debian is that the whole of the operating system with the stable repositories is very stable. It's well tested. I think Debian is for those Linux users that have been using Linux for a long time, know their way around it, can find solutions on their own and want just reliable and stable system. Debian gets updated maybe once a month. With Ubuntu you get small update packages almost every day. Then let's go into the fact that Ubuntu is more user-friendly. It's more user-friendly, and it's, as I said, it has some things pre-configured. For example, with Debian, if you have a certain printer, you have a certain network card, you will have to figure how to install that firmware and those drivers yourself. It's not a huge hassle, but if you are very much a beginner, I would still go with Ubuntu and just get acquainted with Linux on Ubuntu. And I would feel that Debian is for the type of Linux user that is a bit more advanced, but is fed up with everything else. I would feel that most people right now, they wouldn't choose Debian. I would feel that it's for the Linux users that have been there for a long time and have kind of seen it how it is and want just something that is very reliable. That's what Debian is, reliable, stable.